Welcome to another episode. Today, I wanted to touch a little bit on a topic that I've discussed in the past. And in this topic, I'm going to expand a little bit more on what was touched on in a previous episode. I've made episodes on the topic of protection training and the difference between sport dogs and real personal protection dogs. So if you want to get more information on that specific topic, make sure you look at the library. Go to the YouTube playlist labeled podcast, or if you're listening from a podcast platform, just kind of go back to a bunch of episodes before. You'll see something titled along the lines of protection dogs or real versus sport, something along those lines. I know I made a couple of episodes and even some regarding puppies for protection work. So now I wanted to expand a little bit on one part of that topic as a result of having clients who have their personal protection dogs doing a little bit of sport work. I've been working with clients like this for over a year now. So I have a few types of clients. I have clients that they just want their dogs to be obedience trained. I have some clients every once in a while that have behavior concerns that they want to address. I also have clients who have personal protection dogs or have dogs with the ability to do personal protection that they want to do some personal protection with. And if the dogs are good candidates, I absolutely help them out with this. I've also had people in the past that wanted this type of work, but their dogs were not suitable candidates. And it's my responsibility to let them know. And I have sort of my criteria as to what I consider suitable and not. And I also have clients who bought personal protection dogs, or have a dog with the ability to do personal protection, but they're more shifting towards sport work. I have a client that got a nice personal protection dog, very nice dog. The dog was trained for personal protection. It was sold as a personal protection. And normally when I see personal protection dogs sold as such, it's been my experience observing it that a lot of times they're not adequate. I've had people that have bought personal protection dogs that unfortunately were ripped off. They were not given the right product. And obviously it's also my responsibility to bring that to light to them and let them know the issues that their dog has, or the limitations rather that their dog has. So I will tell them it is something that I take serious, and it's something that I'm very transparent about. So with that, also the question that has come up, or the concern, or the topic that has been brought to my mind lately is when you get the dog that on paper seems to be the nice personal protection dog, and in my opinion, there are different factors, there are different things that to me I feel is a suitable candidate, and then to other people they have a different criteria. So my criteria for a good personal protection dog is the dog has to be confident. Very, very confident. The dog has to be has to have a almost a level of sociability. I like the personal protection dog to be somewhat social, not a social butterfly necessarily, but I'd rather it be on the social side. So the dog has to be very confident. The dog has to be social. And the dog has to have the right qualities for personal protection training, meaning they do have they have the maturity to switch into some defense work, and they have the desire, the ability to target their their bite, whether it be in defense work or whether it be a little bit in prey work or whether it be in a combination of both. But they have the ability, the desire, the willingness to engage in that manner. But they also have the off switch. Again, this is where the stability of the confident and social dog comes in. Okay, like a stable dog that is social and is very confident. And why do I want that? I want that because I want to be able to have this dog, whether it's my dog or my client's dog. I want this dog to be able to be in many different situations without the handler, the owner, being concerned about the potential liability. If you cannot take your personal protection dog in scenarios or locations where you know this dog will be stable and social, if you can't do that, then what happens is now you have to make sure your dog is put away, that your dog is not there. And when your dog is not there, then you don't have your personal protection dog. So I would rather my dog, the personal protection dog, be a bit on the social side. Because if I have people suddenly coming to the house, I have people that suddenly show up. Okay, and my ability as a handler and a trainer differs a lot from the average pet owner, from the average client. But if you look at the the average client, the average pet owner, and and they have a dog that has the willingness to engage in bite work, okay, has the maturity, but maybe they don't quite have the stability, they don't quite have the sociability to be in most scenarios that don't involve bite work. And suddenly, maybe they get a surprise visit, or a relative shows up, or they need to go into a situation where there will be other people. A lot of times, if the dog doesn't have the level of sociability to handle that, then that dog is now a liability. They're concerned about the dog making the wrong decision. They have to constantly tell people, no, don't touch him. All right. They constantly have to be aware of this dog's space. All right. They have to be on the lookout that their dog is not going to nail somebody just because they got looked at the wrong way. So that adds so much stress. And a lot of times the owners don't want to deal with this stress. So they just either leave the dog at home, or when they do get company, or they get a construction crew, they have to put the dog away. And I've had this happen to clients that they have told me this. Right? There is construction going on at the house, repairs going on in the house, and or company, and because the dog has a sharp edge to it, they end up putting the dog away because they don't want to deal with the potential liability. Right? Or if we do if we do training, the dog gets brought to me to address that, then we will address it, but now the client still has to be aware of the dog's potential triggers. And now this is now an extra step that the client has to take. They have to make sure that they give the dog a job, the dog has something to do, which is fine, but it just adds that extra bit of stress. Whereas if you have a social dog, you don't really have to worry about that. You have a dog that is confident and has a bit of sociability. You don't have to worry about the dog being a liability, because people come in and the dog is perfectly content and the dog's perfectly happy, and quite social. Now, this is where other people's idea or definition of a protection dog changes, because there are people that believe if your dog is that friendly and that social, then it's not a good personal protection dog because they're social. And in my opinion, in my experience, that is not the case. Because here is where training comes in. And a lot of it is training, and a lot of it too is the dog's inherent reaction. Okay, and what I mean by that is I have seen and I have been told many instances, and I've also seen it, when the dog will go from being friendly to they'll instantly switch if their owner is in peril. If there is a switch in the environment, if there's a sudden change in the environment where the person the dog is fine with, and it's even in instances even friends with, if that person suddenly shifts, becomes a threat to the owner, I have seen the dog instantly switch. And I have clients whose dogs are like that. I have clients who have very nice, stable dogs, okay? With that bit of sociability, there's no liability. There's no we need to really be careful. There's no concern from the owner that this dog is going to bite the wrong person, because they have that goofy social demeanor about them where people don't feel threatened by their dogs. And they might go, wow, that's a big dog. That's a scary looking dog. But they don't feel threatened by the dog, right? And when they don't, it's fine. I mean, the dog is not a liability. But if the person decides, hey, since this dog's not a threat, I'm going to do something bad, the dog will instantly switch. And to me, that's a good personal protection dog. Okay, so some people believe strongly that if the dog, and I know this because I have a client who's looking to rehome, his dog, because that's a bit of a problem that he has. And I've had people in the past that have had similar complaints where their dog is too friendly for their liking. And I get it. I mean, that's a preference, and I understand. But to me, there is no such thing. Okay. You can have a really badass, good personal protection dog that doesn't feel threatened by every movement that everybody makes. I know some people want the alarm. That's different. An alarm dog is different. Okay, the alarm dog is the dog that will bark every time they hear a little bit of noise somewhere or outside. And you don't need a big guard dog for that. You can just get a Chihuahua, and the dog will do that for you. They'll be the alarm. And that'll give you time to get your gun out or investigate whatever you have to do. So to me, the big dog that barks at every little thing, or that is not friendly, or that will bite possibly anything that moves the wrong way, or if somebody looks a little bit fishy, the dog is going to take action. To me, that's not a suitable protection dog. To me, that's just a liability waiting to happen. Okay, that's the type of dog that when you don't want to deal with it, you're going to put it away. And when you put it away, what's the point of having the personal protection dog? If you got to be on top of your dog and micromanaging every little thing that they do when there are people around, what's the point of having the personal protection dog? Your focus is so much on your dog because you don't want it to make the wrong decision that you kind of lose sense of your situational awareness as to what is happening there. I don't want to have to worry about the dog. Well, I want to be aware of what's happening, the person that is visiting or the person that is coming into the house to do some work, which I've had that happen. People that I don't even know coming to my home to do some repairs because the landlord decided to, I'm not upset about it, but the landlord goes, all right, I'm going to have a crew come into the house while you're there during this time so they can do repairs. And now I get a bunch of people I don't even know just coming into my home, which has to get done. Again, I'm not upset about that. But now I have a dog that I know will take the proper action. But if I have a liability and these people are coming and going, coming into the house, going outside to get more tools, coming and going, and my dog is flipping the hell out, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just too much. This dog wants to bite everything. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put the dog away. If I was the average dog owner, I would put the dog away. It'd be like, I can't deal with this. Now I put the dog away. Now this now becomes a probable hazard where if the people now decided to do something, my personal protection dog is locked up because he's too much of a liability that I can't deal with it. So what I would rather have then is I'd rather have a dog that is not a liability, that is not a threat. That when this construction crew comes and goes, the dog is happy to see them. And I know some people find that as a problem. Like, well, if your dog is just friendly, how is it a protection dog? Because the moment one of these people decide to do something, the moment these people decide to become a threat, that's the moment my dog switches. That is a personal protection dog. The dog has the ability to switch, okay, or the training to switch. Okay, that's ultimately the best type of protection dog. I cannot emphasize that enough. If your dog is, a little bit on the I'm gonna bark and I don't like people, and and it's a liability. One, you have to put the dog away, like I said, in scenarios where you might need it. But also, think about this. The dog that is constantly barking and growling at the sight of people or when people are around that they don't know, this dog is showing you that they don't have confidence. Okay, that's not the behavior of a confident dog, of a confident animal. If you observe animals, okay, if you just look at dogs, okay, look at stray dogs. The yappy ones, okay, the ones that are, barking and alerting, they're not the most confident ones. The confident ones are the ones that don't make any noise, are the ones that are walking the neighborhood. You could approach it and I mean, you could drive right past them and they're not even concerned. They're not barking. They're not showing teeth. They're not trying to push you away. They're confidently walking right into, right past the thing that would scare a lot of dogs. That's the confident one. So when I have a personal protection dog or a personal protection dog prospect that is barking a lot and it's making a lot of noise, that potentially tells me this dog, on top of it being a liability, okay, this potentially tells me this dog is not confident. Because a dog that is not as confident, yes, they'll make a lot of noise. Yes, they'll scare the right person. But there is the potential that if this dog that is barking a lot gets hit one time, gets a good kick in the face, this dog is done. And just dog goes, no, I'm done. I'm not doing this. So this is the difference between a dog that is a liability and a dog that is stable. Okay, I want the personal protection dog to be stable. I want the dog to not be threatening. I don't want to have to worry about the dog. I don't want people to have to worry about the dog. Because the reality is the majority of scenarios you will encounter yourself in, that you will find yourself in, the majority of these scenarios are not bad unless you live in Gotham City, or or in a crime, in a high crime area. The likelihood of you running into perilous situations are not very high. So that's where, the majority of your scenarios that involve other people are not going to end in you getting jumped. So because of that, I don't want a liability. Okay? Because that's when you're going to end up with a dog biting the wrong person, growling at the wrong person. And I've seen that. And people who don't know, or get so proud. They're like, "Oh, my dog growled at you because he was trained to do so." And I'm like, I wasn't even walking towards you. I'm not even nowhere near your bubble. I'm way ahead, way away from you. And your dog came charging at me. That's not training. Your dog is not, the dog is a liability. It's not that it was trained to do so. If I was an active threat to you, then you could say, okay, yeah, that was the training. If I'm walking in your direction, I'm not a threat. If I'm walking in your direction and your dog starts yapping at me and barking and showing teeth, that's not a personal protection dog. I'm not a threat. You don't need a $20,000 dog for that. You just get a dog from the shelter and it'll do the same thing. Now, if I have the intent, and I have the active presence, and I'm already walking in your direction with bad intent, okay, because not every time somebody walks in your direction, they're going to jump you or beat you up. That's not how it happens. Okay, it's the intent. And if you think that's stupid, dogs can learn to differentiate intent. That's where training comes in. The times that I see dogs do the inappropriate thing, that's way higher, unfortunately. And I've seen that. And I've seen people that, they thought they had a nice personal protection dog. And granted, they definitely had a dog that would bite, but the same dog was too unstable to keep around. Well, yes, the dog will bite somebody that will be a threat, but the dog also would take too many liberties and want to bite people that were not a threat. Now you have a liability. You don't just have a personal protection dog here. You have a walking liability. And that's what people don't want. And that's the point that I was that I wanted to bring in this episode. So anyway, that's all I have for now. See you guys on the next episode. And I hope you enjoyed it.